Flopsy and the Easter Bunny Olympics, Part 40 of 40. Queuing for the how cute poise and pageantry event from highest to lowest race numbers provided those of us with low race numbers two opportunities that those with higher numbers towards the front were denied. On the plus side, the farther back a bunny stood in line, the more time we could use to primp and polish in order to look our best. However, the extra time also afforded us opportunities to chat with one another for better or worse. Like all Easter Bunny Olympic events, poise and pageantry had a 20-minute time limit. Parading 120 round one bunnies through their pageantry gave each bunny 8 seconds to cross from stage right to stage left, while those of us in round 4 were allotted 15 seconds to, as Lacus had said, walk to the center of the stage, turn, bow or curtsy as appropriate, wave to him, wave to the audience, and look our cutest before exiting on the far side. For me, queuing towards the rear brought the blessing of being many bunnies removed from Woundwort with his far higher number, but also subjected me to a longer time worrying about being judged by Tempestus Lacus with his lack of bunnily love. "Did you hear me?" Bustle asked, startling me from my brooding. "No," I replied with a laugh. "Sorry, I was lost in thought. What did you say?" "I said you look good," Bustle said with a smile. "Worried at all about the weight of poise and pageantry?" "Well, yes. I'm afraid Lacus will judge very harshly. I mean, to him, a white bunny is an ugly bunny." "Yes," she replied, offering me a quick nose kiss of compassion. "We knew that, but now his score will count more than ever." "Sorry?" I asked, completely confused. "Our scores. Theoretically, they'll be 1 through 100, while our burden, endurance, and steeplechase will be 1 through 52, or maybe 50? Either way, our poise and pageantry score counts nearly as much as our two races combined. I mean, in theory, a bunny could receive what? 52 for burden endurance, 50 for steeplechase, and 100 for poise. I'm a bit worried for you." "Really?" I asked, my voice telegraphing the horrid nature of Bustle's statement. I had no idea. I don't know how I've missed that bit of scoring twist. I suppose I just assumed that each event counted as an equal third. Does that mean round 1 and 2 poise and posture count less overall? "Yes, I thought you knew. You just competed just last month." "I didn't know. Being eliminated in round 1, it didn't come up. So even if, well, let's just say I got a combined score of 90 on our races and Lacus gives me a 10, then I only hit the halfway mark and I'm out." "Oh no, I had no idea. This is terrible." No. I mean, yes, but it doesn't matter if you're only at the halfway point score-wise. We're still judged by how we place compared to one another. If I earn, let's say, 80 on the races and, let's say 55 for poise, that's a score of 125 out of a possible 204. So what? Just to tick over 60%. That's below 2/3. I'm sorry to burden you like this. I thought you knew. "It's all right," I said with a smile. "You've done nothing wrong. You're almost up," I added, nodding to the stage right cue. "Go get him. Go score another 99. "Thank you, Flopsy. Show them how beautiful you are. You and all that gorgeous white fur. Best to you, my friend," she said before delivering a departing nose kiss and queuing behind 2 bunnies in the wings of stage right. "Blast," I whispered before checking a mirror, shrugging, then falling in line. The game's officials in charge of queuing nodded and winked to send me out, and I managed not to stumble or limp as I walked center stage, bowed, waved first to Lacus, then the audience before hopping off stage left with a grin plastered to my face. I followed the bunny ahead of me to her position at the bottom of Lacus's 10-meter high judging platform and fell into position at the back of the line Sojournem directed me to. Once every bunny was lined up, Lacus again addressed the arena as our poise and pageantry scores quickly scrolled. Whatever words of wisdom or cruelty Lacus may have delivered via Jumbotron and television were lost on me as my soul was in such a funk that my mind had turned my ears to cloth and eyes to buttons. I was shaken from my fugue by Sojournem declaring, "No, absolutely not," as loudly as possible. My head jerked first towards him, then towards the platform towards which he directed his voice. Looking up, I saw the 4 games officials that he and Shatek had spoken with at the end of our burdened endurance race crowding round Lacus and speaking to him in what was obviously a heated argument. The close-up camera that had focused on Lacus's face shifted to a bird-like view of the Wells Fargo from ceiling height as the main screen of the Jumbotron presented a sweeping view of the expanse. Sojourner turned towards our squad, smiled, and said, "Stay close at paw, just checking on a detail with Tempestus," he said to our Fluffle before turning to me and adding with a smile, "Flopsy, may I speak with you a moment?" Hopping to a spot a meter or two away from the Fluffle with Sojourner, I asked, "Sir?" "Don't despair," he said. "That score won't stand. It simply will not," just as all Jumbotrons flashed a "please stand by" message. "Thank you, sir," I replied, wondering just how low my score had been. Our wait was rather long, and I thought about asking what my score had been, but just when I'd steeled myself to ask, the Jumbotrons returned to action. A view of Tempestus Lacus once again filled every Jumbotron screen as he stood high above us on his platform, filling the Wells Fargo with his meaningless prattle. "That's more like it," Sojourner said to me. "You're in. You earned it. We'll form our heavenly circle with you as one of the two in the center. You've earned that too. Good job, Flopsy. I hope you're 1/10 as proud of yourself as I am in you." Turning to the Fluffle, Sojourner thanked everyone for having done their best, then positioned his final 38 Easter Bunnies in the heavenly square with his 16 bunnies outer square, 12 bunnies middle diamond, 8 bunnies inner square, and 2 in center diamond. I was in the heavenly square's very center where Bustle and I were placed side by side, along with Pax and Springgrass in the inner square, along with 6 other bunny game winners. Wisteria, Floricampo, Martingaloro, and Gojaburo made up 4 of the 12 middle diamond bunnies, while sweet little Honeysuckle was positioned in the outermost square, along with the remaining 15 Easter Bunny game winners from our squad. My parents, having made their way down to arena level from their seats, stood just outside camera range. As soon as the cameras were off us, Sojourner pulled the 4 of us together, introduced himself to Clover and Fiver before speaking quietly and confidentially. "I don't want to embarrass any bunny," he said, "but your Flopsy here may be the finest bunny I've been privileged to have in any games Fluffle I've led." At Sojourner's words, Mother and Father looked at one another, and I was afraid they might cry. "Furthermore, Flopsy, the essay you wrote in the preliminary rounds is the only essay in the history of the Easter Bunny games to receive a combined score of 300, an outstanding feat that I certainly feel is far more laudable than Field of Flowers' poise and pageantry accomplishment." Sojourner paused, took a breath, and continued. "I was worried about Tempestus Lacus filling in for Placid Paws before I saw you, Flopsy, but my concern rose enormously after I did. He's a bigot, if you'll pardon my saying so. His bigotry is bad enough towards black bunnies, but, well, as you've all seen, it's even more hate-filled when directed at white bunnies. He's used to getting praise and encouragement from a certain element out there in District 4, an element that has no place in the bunny games, and Flopsy here has endured extremely inappropriate harassment at the paws of his nephew." "I'm very sorry," Flopsy said, looking at me rather than my parents. "His nephew's terrible behavior did provide us with some leverage, though. The nephew cheated. Terribly. He cheated, then claimed ignorance concerning the steeplechase rules because I'd removed him from the Fluffle after he treated Flopsy so poorly. Well, as it turns out, the nephew had already made multiple attempts to become an Easter Bunny in the Omaha arena, a fact that completely destroyed his ignorance angle. Not that it was ever a good excuse, so when Lacus gave Flopsy that ridiculous score, some of the other games officials stepped in to chat with him, and it turns out," here Sojourner smiled brightly, "poor Lacus wasn't sure how the scoring machine worked, and somehow it was Flopsy's score that got truncated. That's why you received a score of 1, Flopsy, because the 4 that Lacus had meant to put in front of it got cut off. Your score, Tempestus assures us, should have been a 41 rather than just a 1, and with that you're totally in. Yes?" "Yes, sir," I replied, nodding and understanding fully the message Sojourner was telling me concerning Lacus having scored thousands of other bunnies properly, and that any claim of my score being wrong was completely untruthful. "Thank you," I managed to squeak before turning to my parents and bursting into tears as they wrapped me in loving embrace. "There is one fascinating footnote to today's game," Sojourner said dryly. "I'm terribly sad to announce that your revised score meant our lowest scoring bunny was again eliminated from the final winners, and that is why Woundwort did not assemble within our heavenly square. Very, very sad, no?" he asked, grinning widely. "I'll be right back," I whispered to them before hopping over to Pax, Springgrass, Wisteria, Floricampo, and especially Bustle, my friends who hadn't cared a whit about the color of my fur and had stood by me and provided me with the sport I needed to become an Easter Bunny.